Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter. Folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. Good morning to all those receiving signals into those boxes we also known as AKA the Howard boxes. Anyway, folks, without further ado, let's throw it to the studio where we are blessed to have the one and only Jack Van Beba. Good morning, Jack. How are you doing today, sir?
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I have a whole lot to talk about today, but I'm doing fine.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of going to get on Elon Musk this morning.
Okay.
Why does Elon Musk want to defund public broadcasting? It does not affect his bottom line or the nation's bottom line. Oh, I get it. Public broadcasting seeks to tell the truth and inform the public. Obviously, he doesn't want the public informed with the truth. Any other person who shut down an app, Starlink, that the Ukrainian forces were going to use in a planned attack would be in the stockade awaiting trial for treason. Man. Oh, I get it. He's a billionaire. The law doesn't apply to him the same way law applies to the rest of us citizens. As dynamic as Elon Musk is, don't be too sure he's not here to undermine the citizens' future.
My brother, you nailed it. And yeah, the reason why they are so against the public broadcasting is that is the one place where we know that effectively they'll tell the truth because they don't owe their income in the aggregate in general to the masters of the corporatocracy, to the plutocracy. In other words, it's we, the people, who fund them. You know, Jack, that is one of the reasons why we work so hard as independent media, as community radio, to try to get the people out there to support us. Because, again, that is the only way you're guaranteed the truth. Look at when you watch TV today. You sit down and you watch the news, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, or whatever. There's one thing they all share in common. The same sponsors. Right now, the TV is saturated with look, Medicare is good. But you know what? We can give you some Medicare with frills. We paid off the political system so that they'll give us on the aggregate 20% more than Medicare actually costs. And for that, guess what? We make you believe we're giving you eye care. We make you believe we're giving you dental care. We make you believe you're getting hearing care. We make you believe that we're giving you better care than the original Medicare. But hold on a second. You can only see the doctors that we want you to see. Hold on a second. You can only take the medicines that we want you to take. But hold on a second. If your doctor think you need this particular test and we don't think it's economically efficient for us as a private insurance company to give that to you because it takes money out of our shareholders' budget, we won't let you have the test. Maybe you'll just have to die because, your life means little. All that matters is growth, and money to our investors. Folks, you can only get the truth from those who only owe the truth to you. Remember that. You can only get the truth from those who owe the truth to you. And that's why we always stress, support those of us giving you independent, unadulterated truth, because that's the only way you're going to get it. Jack nailed it as he usually does. But we got a lot to talk about today. We got a hell of a lot to talk about today. Let me tell you something, guys. I love women presidents. I love women leaders. they are usually so much more blunt. They are usually so much stronger because they don't have to play the good old boy game. They were never in the game in the first place. So generally speaking, not because women make better presidents than men or anything like that, but in today's world, women have got to be better presidents and better prime ministers and better everything than men because of the way the system judges, not only by men, but even by some women. As you can see, what happened with Kamala Harris, an incompetent traitor, rapist wins the presidency of the United States, even with the help of women. Patriarchy is an interesting thing, but you know what? I am so proud. I am so proud of our Mexican president. She nailed it in her response. Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. Remember that name, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, who is the new president of Mexico. And as you know, Donald Trump went ahead and he passed he said in his Truth Social, that failure of a social media device, he said that he was going to impose a 25%. Let me read what he actually said. He said, as everyone is aware, thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before. Right now, a caravan coming from Mexico, composed of thousands of people, seems to be unstoppable in its quest to come through our currently open border. On January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States, and it is ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such time that they do it, it's time for them to pay a very big price. First of all, that it starts with a lie, right? That there's caravans coming to the United States. We are at a low, but I want to read you the response. And when I read a response to the letter, the response that was translated by one of our newspapers, and I don't trust our newspapers to be frank in their translation at all, because again, I don't have faith that just like the Washington Post, just like the LA refused to, they were commanded not to endorse as they should. I decided I would get the original letter in Spanish that was sent by Miss Sheinbaum Pardo to Trump. And when I read that letter, I said, I love women presidents. I love women prime ministers. Women, again, because they know they're not a part of the good old boy network, that they can be as free to do as they should. But anyway, I'm going to start. She says, estimado presidente electo Donald Trump, me dirijo a usted a raíz de su declaración del lunes 25 sobre inmigración, tráfico de fentanilo y aranceles. I'm writing to you about what you spoke about migration, traffic, the fentanyl traffic, and the tariffs. I'm not going to read this one completely in Spanish, because what she wanted to say is, let me forewarn you that the truth is that unlike your statement on Truth Social, according to your own records, the migration rate to the United States over the last year has dropped by 75%. In other words, there are very few people crossing the border right now. And then she said, however, Let me read that one in Spanish. Por estas razones ya no llegan caravanas migrantes a la frontera. We don't longer have, because of the work we've done, there's no more that caravan coming to the United States. Aún así está claro que debemos arribar conjuntamente a otro modelo de movilidad laboral que es necesario para su país y de atención a las causas que llevan a familia a dejar sus lugares de origen por necesidad. She said, but by the same token, because of what you need in your labor force, your own labor force, we need to come out with some sort of a model of how we're going to have the exchange of labor between countries. But then she nailed him. Let me tell you what she said. She said, si un porcentaje de lo que Estados Unidos destina a la guerra se dedica a la construcción de la paz y el desarrollo, se estará atendiendo de fondo la movilidad de las personas. Oh, that was a slicing statement. She said, look, but let me tell you something, Mr. Trump. If your country was to take a fraction of what you spend on war and use it for peace and use it for the development throughout Latin America, that's what she's referring to, then all of this stuff would be done with. We wouldn't have this kind of migration come into the United States. In other words, if you want to stop the migration, there's something you can do about it around the Latin area where all these problems are occurring. Then she says, por otro lado y por razones humanitarias, siempre hemos manifestado la disposición de México para evitar que siga la epidemia de fentanilo en los Estados Unidos, que por las demás es un problema de consumo y de la salud pública de su país en lo que va del año de las Fuerzas Armadas Mexicanas y las facalias han inaucado toneladas de diferentes tipos de drogas. She's saying, look, by the way, this fentanyl epidemic, for humanitarian reasons, Mexico wants to help you, in effect. But remember, this is your problem. It is your country that has a drug problem. And later on, as she continues, she said, we don't have a fentanyl problem in our country. It is your country that has a drug problem. It is your country that has a drug producing country. And please do remember, she continues in the letter, please do remember that the precursors to make fentanyl are not manufactured in Mexico or Canada. They are manufactured in countries overseas, in Asian countries. And then she points out, but let me tell you, Mr. President, so therefore, to solve this problem of avoiding the transfer of all these drugs from the precursors to these drugs from Asia, it seems to me like you don't only need a conversation with Canada and Mexico, you need to have a conversation with all these other countries. In other words, you have to do what again? Negotiate. And then she hits him again. She says, and by the way, because trafficking of drugs, etc., are illegal, and to do this require, all these people who transfer drugs use guns, and we don't manufacture these guns that come into Mexico to maintain this trade of illegal drugs. They come from where? The United States. So here you go. You have your population with a drug problem. They are the ones using drugs. America is the one that has a drug problem. America is the country that has a gun problem. You are exporting your gun problems to Mexico, and your drug problems are causing Chinese companies as capitalists to move the precursors for these drugs to Mexico and Canada to get into the United States. And then your arms are killing a lot of Mexicans because your country has a lot of drugs. So imposing tariffs, so this is what she's saying. So you can try to impose tariffs on us. Let me tell you, you impose tariffs on us, we will do the same thing and impose tariffs on you. But also, Mr. President, do remember, all of this is in her letter. I'm not going to read it in Spanish anymore, but all of this is in the letter. She says, do remember that General Motors, Stellantis, and Ford Motor are manufacturing cars for American consumption in Mexico. And as they go over the border, you will be taxing your citizens and creating inflation in your country. Oh my God, she hit him so hard with a few inconvenient truths. In other words, your problem, you are trying to have us solve your problem. You're going to put tariffs on us to solve your problem. You guys are the druggies. You guys are the ones that have to be medicated. You guys are the ones that make guns. You guys are the ones that's giving us the weapons to kill a lot of our own people. Suppose we decide to use the same thing that you are doing and decide to say, oh, since guns are manufactured in the United States and coming into Mexico, and a lot of Mexicans are getting killed from your from your guns, maybe we should put a big tariff on you because you are getting our citizens killed with the manufacture of guns in the United States. Again, whenever you're pointing a finger, be careful. There are 4 more pointing back at you. Unlike Trudeau from Canada, who said, "Oh, I had a conversation with Trump, and we're talking about all the different kind of trades that we have in the." No, she didn't do that. She came right at him. Don't be giving me this crap, Trump. You guys are the druggies. You guys are the dope addicted folk. You guys are the one manufacturing weapons that kill people. And now you want us to pay you a tariff because your folks can't get off the drugs, because you can't stop your industry from manufacturing guns for a profit as they kill people. This reminds me of 1989. And for those of you who listen to the show often, you hear me talk about this all of the times. I'm originally from Panama, Central America, and I remember 1989 very well. I remember just before the invasion started, I got a call from a friend of mine who worked for the CIA, and he's like, Egberto, he's a Panamanian soldier. He's a soldier in the United States, born in Panama. He's like, Egberto, you didn't hear this from me, but let your people know it starts tonight. And then Bush started having those C-130s. Every 5 minutes, a C-130 landed in Panama, Fort Howard Air Force Base, Fort Cole, all these bases. And then they started the invasion. They blew up the Cuartel Nacional in Colón. That's the city that I'm from. They just, and by the way, that's surrounded by tenements. All those people got killed as they opened up. In Panama City, not Marañón, Chorrillo in Panama City, they opened up in the cuartel where Manuel Antonio Noriega was, killed a lot of people. According to the UN, according to America, 1,000 people. According to the UN, I think it was 4,000 people. We know, for those of us who lived in these areas, we know that 10,000 Panamanians got killed. Why? Because Manuel Antonio Noriega purportedly, they invaded purportedly because Manuel Antonio Noriega was facilitating drugs into the United States, and a few American soldiers in Panama got shook up supposedly by Panamanian defense forces. Okay, so what happened? What is our response to that? We blow the crap out of Panama, destroyed parts of Colón, destroyed parts of Chorrillo in Panama City, killed thousands of people purportedly to get one man, Manuel Antonio Noriega. And what was his fault? He was a capitalist. How was he a capitalist? Well, America demanded drugs. American people love all those drugs coming from Colombia. They love those drugs coming from all these different places. So they said, as good capitalists do, I'm not a capitalist, but Noriega was a capitalist. He said, well, there's a need for drugs in the United States. I will facilitate the supply of drugs to the United States. And, well, instead of solving the problem in the United States where people are on drugs, they decided to blow up Panama for facilitating the supply of something many Americans wanted. So a lot of Panamanians died for that. My friends, that is why so much so I so love honest presidents. And what you find are, women like Van Boyne or rather Shanboyne in Mexico have no problem telling Trump the inconvenient truth that if you want to solve the border problem, there are solutions. And it's not with tariffs, and it's not with putting people in camps. It's by using a fraction of the money you used to kill people or to give Israel bombs or Ukraine bombs to kill more people, a fraction of that used in just development in countries around the world that you have yourself with your policies abused. The rice plans, the rice policy for Haiti that favored the American farmer and destroyed the Haitian farmer. And we can do that country after country after country after country. But we don't see it that way. Our government doesn't see that way. And our government, with the lies that they tell the people of the United States, put us at risk. Because they tell us they don't like us because of our freedom. It has not a damn thing to do with our freedom. It has everything to do with not the policy of the good American people, but the policies of the evil corporations who are the genesis of most of these problems, as they use the American government to abuse other places. I just so love that letter that President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo sent to Trump. And then I turned on the TV this morning, and I wanted to hear the mainstream media tell the American people the truth. Tell the American people how this tariff, as opposed not only ill-conceived, but how immoral this tariff was, because it's asking the average American, good people that are not on fentanyl, people that are not doing drugs, but they're falsely going to apply a tariff under the pretext that Canada and Mexico are sending fentanyl into America and sending undocumented workers into America as if it is their fault, when all the fault begins here. And she told him in no uncertain terms, brother Trump, that's your problem. Then I turned on the TV to see if anybody would capture the essence of what President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo told to Trump. Because you cannot accept, you cannot change, you cannot fix things if you don't first accept the reality of how things are. And madre mía, por favor. That's exactly what she did. And of course, I turned to every channel, every news channel, every newspaper in the United States, and no one covered it in the context in which it should have been covered, except for the Latin American papers. I got up this morning and I read Infobay, a Latin American paper, La Prensa, another Latin American paper, where we could actually see the words that she wrote in the proper context that she wrote it. Folks, why do you need independent media? Because we're lied to? Why do you need independent media? Because our mainstream media has a position that actually is not in your favor. It's in the corporate favor, as it keeps us uninformed, many times disinformed. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to Brother Spike. Come on in, Spike.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Talk to me, my brother.
Yeah. Okay. You know how we was talking yesterday, and we was talking. You know, I was talking about that the election was taken. You know, but now, can you tell me about the hanging Chads? How was that possible? That had to be hooked up, right? You know, when you was voting for Gore but your vote would go over to George Bush.
Let me explain the hanging chad problem. Yeah, let me explain it. Yeah, let me explain hanging chads. In the olden days, they had punch cards, sort of thing.
Those were not olden days.
I know that was 2000. Okay, in 2000, it was 2000. All right, Spike. What they had were these punch cards. Okay, and it was just bad. It was just bad technology. What happened is you put these punch cards into a machine, and you had a stylus, and with the stylus, you punched out the person that you wanted to vote for. Now, when you punch this card, it was a piece of cardboard, paper, thick paper. When you punch a punch card, the way it should function is that entire thing should come out. That piece of paper should entirely come out so that it left a hole in that paper. And then when it went into the card reader read the hole as being a vote. But what happened with some of these cards is when the person punched the card, a chad that should have fallen off did not fall off. Okay? So what happened is when you pick up that card and looked at it, that chad would still be there. So that hole would not be completely punched out. If you pass that through the reader, that will go through as no vote, because when it goes flat into the reader, that hole will close back up. So it would pretty much say that person didn't vote for that particular person. And what happens then is you get an undercount of the vote for whatever that person voted. So the way, if you remember from the pictures you'd see on TV, is you'd see them hold up the punch card and you'll see the hanging chad, and they had to determine if that hanging chad was actually a vote or simply a broken ballot. All right? And if it were cleanly cut out, it was a vote. And if it kind of looked like it's just a machination of the paper, well, it was a non-vote. Of course, you don't really know if that person pushed it, accidentally pushed it, started to push it, and didn't complete the push. There's a whole lot of things there that could go wrong. With the electronics, you don't have that issue. Go ahead.
So are you saying that was an accident?
I am saying most of the times I would consider those accidents. Yes. In other words, when you go to vote, let me wait. Spike. Hear me out, please. Hear me, Spike. I hope you will have trust in me when I tell you this. Okay. I'm neither a conspiracy theorist or someone who believes in that our system is fair. None of that is true. So when I speak to, what I don't want to do is the following, Spike. As somebody who has a platform here on the radio, I want to be responsible in only telling you the things that can be proven. Okay. And look, I only want to talk about what can be proven. And here's what I do know, because I've used punches before. Okay. I know that there are times that you push that punch. Okay. And what happens sometimes is if you don't push all the way down, that you can get a hanging chad. So I am going to say I don't know what the intent is of the person who pushed that thing down. I do know what the intent is of the people reading the ballot. And that's why you had to have a Republican and a Democrat together reading and how to interpret the hanging chad. Okay. And so the issue, go ahead.
So
go ahead, Spike.
I hear exactly what you're saying. So are you saying, okay, with all the technology has advanced so far since then, so what you're saying is still they cannot design voting machines to take votes the way they want to do it. You saying
no. That's not what I'm saying at all. Let me tell you what I'm saying. First of all, I am saying that I think these machines are purposefully not not very easy to deal with. Okay, I could design a machine that is very easy to use, that is flawless, and that is easy to do. It behooves me why we don't do it. Um, in as much as we can't corrupt elections on a broad scale, in other words, we can't say like in the several thousand counties that run elections, it's hard for there to be a conspiracy nationwide, but it's not hard for there to be a conspiracy locally. You follow what I'm saying? In other words, you can corrupt an election locally, but it's not hard to do. But it's very hard to do it nationally because these are disparate systems. They're not connected together, etc. But I can see ways to corrupt the system where I was. And let me give you the different ways. Ballots can disappear. Let me give an example. I could go into my polling location right now, vote and do everything and get that ballot show up as damaged. Okay, there are a lot of different things that one can do in a local place. And you know, so I am not saying that there can't be hanky-panky going on, Spike. All I'm saying is when we look at the hanging Chad issue, etc., that wasn't one of the hanky-pankies. Let me tell you what was the hanky-panky in Florida. The butterfly votes was the one that could create problems. The butterfly vote was where you had things on the left and the right, and when you did your punch, you weren't quite sure if you were voting for Gore or the independent candidate. There are designs in ballots that make it easy to create issues, and that occurred in Florida as well, the butterfly ballot. Anything else, Spike?
Just remember George Bush's brother say he not worried. His brother's going to win Florida.
Oh yeah,
remember?
Yeah, I remember that well. Look, no, that election was stolen. There is no doubt that election was stolen. Yeah, go ahead.
And there's one more thing. You was talking about Manuel Noriega.
Yes.
Do you remember the pictures with Manuel Noriega sitting at the table with George H.W. Bush and
of course
sitting around and the picture with Saddam Hussein and George Bush now. I'm saying that to say all that they were doing, like, see, they were the ones that was it was put on them that they were the ones having the stuff brought over here. They were working for them.
Look, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something that's so important. Spike, hold on, Spike. Brother Spike, let me interrupt you a second because I think I know where you're going. And by the way, and you're more right than wrong. You're more right than wrong. George Bush and Manuel Antonio Noriega broke bread together many times, and they all knew that he was facilitating through the banking system in Panama the transfer of drugs to the United States, and they looked the other way because he was their CIA man to spy on Colombia, to spy on Nicaragua, and all these other places. But let me tell you worse. The one time Noriega told them no, I think it was for the invasion of Nicaragua. I think it was Nicaragua, not Salvador.
Sir.
The one time he said no to them, that's when they came after him. Hey, Spike, I got some more calls. Thank you for calling my Spike.
Right on.
You have a great day, brother. Peace. All right, let's go to brother Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
Okay. Well, wow. So I can imagine. Well, first of all, before I go into my imagined concept, I want to quickly remind everybody that in order for communication to be effective, to complete the circuit, even though the president of Mexico might have made a fine declarative statement in her language, she has to remember that George Bush, him too, but Donald Trump doesn't read.
Exactly.
He has to be read too in his own language. So we're counting on the fact that his people there in Washington or Florida or wherever he's hiding right now are going to, number one, be aware that she made that statement and that they speak Spanish, or some of them speak Spanish, and are willing, able, and ready to translate in English and then read it to him. It's a whole lot of ifs. So if the tree in the forest falls and you're not there to hear it, as far as you're concerned, that tree never fell.
Very true.
So anyway, now to why I called. I can imagine that in recent days, people have made their way to the airport to fly across town or across the country to visit loved ones and family and friends for the holidays. Others have traversed the highways and byways in their automobiles for the same purpose. And I have to wonder, in your travels, did you stop at the cockpit of the aircraft and interview the pilots asking to see their photo ID and their credentials? When you get into your vehicle and you go across American highways, do you stop at the light and get out of your vehicle and ask to see the photo IDs of all your fellow travelers on the freeway to find out if they're licensed drivers? When you go to the bank to deposit your paycheck in anticipation of the holiday spending, do you ask the people at the bank their credentials and to see how much money they have in the vault, to see how safe it feels for you to deposit your money there? Huh? How about if you get hurt or if you fall ill and somebody calls 911 ambulance for you? Do you or your family members, do they quiz the EMS crew as to their credentials? Or how about when you roll up to the emergency room, do you ask the nurses and the doctors for their credentials? What I'm getting at is the word called trust. Trust. We trust every day in so many ways, from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed. We have to trust each other, and that comes naturally. So how is it possible that when people on the other side of the aisle, our fellow time travelers, they listen to our conversations, you and I, that they have trouble with trusting what we say and challenge to what they see in the legacy and right-wing media? How is it that they can so vociferously defend a lifelong con man and a career criminal, i.e. Donald Trump, or any of the other Republicans in Washington, D.C., as if they're their brothers, and they look at us like we're the terrorists? That's all I got to say.
Man, I happy Turkey Day to you too, brother. I love that what you just said there, right? Because when you point it out that way, it just proved to you the xenophobia and other isms that go into checking your papers when you're voting and the lack of trust. But for the uninformed, I think, I shouldn't say the uninformed, I should say the ill-informed, because that's what our media do to a lot of our good citizens. Ill-inform them, misinform them, disinform them. And all three of those are different. And they do that, they do that, and they create all these problems in doing so. I am glad you said that, because remember, folks, if first of all, that stuff about undocumented workers voting illegally, wake up. The last thing undocumented workers want is to be found. And so they're not going anywhere close to a voting booth. So that is a figment of your imagination, and it comes from your intrinsic ism, and I won't call all the isms that covers. Thank you very much for that thoughtful statement, brother Johnny. Go ahead.
To dovetail with what you just said, inherent with that trust is our ability to apply our common sense. So common sense plays into this too. What you just said requires common sense. Where's your common sense, Brian? Where's your common sense when you tell Egberto, basically you tell him to leave? I was really offended by that several weeks ago when you did that. You told Egberto Willies to leave the United States and go back. And you were so contentious with him and so antagonistic. You sounded like an old man telling him to get off your lawn.
You know what? It's so funny about that. When I just came to the States, right, and I was looking for different organizations to join. So I joined the Latin American Association. I also joined the Afro-American Culture Committee. And I never forgot the one time that I disagreed in the Afro-American culture room. The first thing I heard was, "You go back to where you came from. You're not one of us." So, I mean, I've heard that from all sides.
Really?
The good thing about it is the following, and this is what makes me who I am, right? Is that I know the entire history of the United States. And because I know the history of the United States, I feel just as American as anybody who wants to call them the sisters of the Confederacy. The same ownership and the ownership they feel towards this country is the same ownership I feel towards it, because I understand its foundation. So anyway, thank you, my brother. And by the way, thank you for having my back, sir.
And I thank you for having our backs. And by the way, also, I feel so bad to hear what you just said when you joined these different groups when you first came here, and to have some of those people. Those are the last people you expect to hear that kind of contentious treatment of you.
And I made that statement on purpose to show that there is a level of, it's a human thing. A lot of people always think it's a racial thing all of the times. It's a human thing. And once and that's why I take the stance that I take. I understand humanity. And that's what we have to understand. And when we get to that space, we're okay. Thank you, my brother Johnny. And you have a wonderful Turkey Day, okay?
You are no longer the new kid on the block, Egberto. You are American.
Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to brother Augie. Augie, how you doing, my brother?
All right. Good morning. Hey, you forgot to mention what she called Donald Trump in the translation. She called him a name. But anyway, that's all.
Which one did I forget? Tell me, which one did I forget? Help me out.
I forget. It was a bad name. I forget.
Okay, but I don't want to say that other word. But anyway, come on in, Augie. What's up, my dear brother?
I understand. But anyway, they would have made it better. But there was no hanging shad problem. I was a key punch operator in 71, 74 in the Air Force. We had those hanging shads, and we just brushed them off. And the key punch machine is what made those holes. Mm-hmm. But after hundreds of thousands of cards going through, those holes were sometimes were not punched clean.
Right.
And all we did was brush our hands underneath it. And those cards the real name is Hollerith cards, but they became IBM cards because IBM is the one that manufactured them. And IBM is the one that helped Hitler and the Nazis with information so they could run the concentration camps. Those IBM cards is what helped Hitler run those concentration camps. And that's why they had so many good records, is IBM technology helping them in World War II. Yeah. So, but the Republicans made it a problem. Hollerith, when that machine punched that hole, it didn't mean it. Yeah, it did. It just didn't punch it clean through. That's all it did. Mm-hmm. And it's funny about Panama. I happened to meet an Army guy at a Kroger. Well, this guy had an Army shirt, and I stopped to talk to him. I said, "Were you in the Army, or are you a relative of somebody in the Army?" He said, "No, I was in the Army," and he was a Ranger, and we talked about the military. And I told him in Vietnam, there's a village north of San Antonio, a Vietnamese village, and there was practice. The Army went and practiced attacking the village. It was in booby trap with flashbang explosives. And then all of a sudden his eye snapped, and he said, "That's funny. We had the same thing. We practiced attacking this building, and we didn't know what it was. We just kept practicing attacking this building until we load us up on a C-130. They didn't tell us where we were going, and they dropped us off in Panama. That building was the palace that Noriega was in, and we didn't know we were practicing all the time invading the palace in Panama." And then he left, and I forgot to get his name and phone number. I thought, man, you might be interested in interviewing him.
I surely would. There are a lot of Panamanians who served in the United States Army, Navy. In fact, my brother-in-law, Panamanian as well, he was an officer in the American Navy. And a lot of Panamanians spilled blood for America. And, when I hear things about the south of the border, as if, these are people that are just coming to take. Well, first of all, we don't come to take, we come to produce. And secondly, we've served the country. In fact, this Veterans Day, a friend of mine who served in Iraq, he used to call me when they're bombing in Iraq. He formed a group called Pantex. I'm actually a part of the group as well. And we marched on Veterans Day with our custom dresses, polleras and montunos, and we had the fire department from Panama fly into, and we were a part of the Veterans Parade. And what I said as the parade passed the stand, I was talking and I said, I just want folks to remember that a lot of these peoples are the generations from those who spilled blood in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and all these other places. We came and spilled blood for the freedom that we have here. So a lot of folks here never decided to spill any blood for the country. A lot of us came south of the border and did just that. Thank you, Augie. I got it. My phones are filling up. Anything else you want to say real quick?
Okay, well, in the 50s, Eisenhower ended the Bracera program, but he also kicked out a bunch of Mexican Americans. And I don't know what minorities voted for Trump. He hates minorities. He hates immigrants. He hates a lot of people, and he insults them. And he's a bad guy, but people still voted for him.
I wrote on Blue Sky a couple of days ago. I said when he said he was going to start it on day one, the deportation. I said for all of my non-white Latinos, tú sabes, we have a lot of Latinos that most Latinos in here are not the white Latinos that you have in Argentina or all these places. I said for all my non-white Latinos, remember now, you will be profiled. Because you will be first thought of. A lot of my Latino friends who voted for Trump, they will be profiled now. And the truth of the matter is, I'm one of them black Latinos. I am not going to be profiled unless I talk with a twang. But now they will be profiled. Some of them who voted for him. Hey, Augie, we talk after the Turkey Day. But thank you so kindly. You have a great Turkey Day, brother. Yeah. Let's go to Bard. Come on in, Bard.
Good morning, Egberto. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Turkey Day, brother.
Hey, thank you, sir. I agree with you. I want to give you a Thanksgiving gift. I'm agreeing with you today, and I'm sorry that the Bushes did that to your Panama, but that's the whole point of why we're trying to get rid of the Bushes. We are sick of the Bushes and the deep state and the rhinos and the palace coups. We want them out totally. They're still trying to go after Ken Paxton, and they have a Speaker of the House in the state of Texas, Dave Phelan, we can't get rid of. And
man, you know what? I was about to give you. Hey, Bart, I was about to give you a Turkey Day hug until you brought up Paxton. Damn it, Bart! Why can't we start Turkey Day on a good note between you and I, buddy?
Well, we can, but you don't understand that George P. Bush is the one behind the whole Paxton deal. George P. Bush wanted to be the Attorney General. George P. Bush is the one that wanted to stay in power because he had his eyes on the president.
Hey, Bard, I want to give Betty, Jim, and Brian a chance to speak. Okay, I want to give Betty, Jim. So I want to wish you a happy Turkey Day, but I'm running out of time now. So happy Turkey Day. We'll talk on Monday. All right?
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, Betty, Sister Betty, come on in.
Good morning. Thank you. Thanks for squeezing me in. I'll try to do this fast. Mexico, she is so right. She is giving him the vice versa back. Yes. Yeah, she is so right. And pain drugs are a people problem. Go, girl. And I'm going to focus on Thanksgiving right now. And I will go and spend my day with my neighbors. He's a cripple and she's a stutterer. He had polio and one of his legs never got right, so he's crippled. And she's a stutterer. She stutters a lot. They're very responsible people. She's gutsy and he has wits. To spend the day with them is rewarding. And I also want to say, if you're driving, there are bumper cars out there. Be careful. Love y'all.
Thank you. Love you too, Betty. Love you too, Betty. And you stay. Thank you for taking care of good people and being there for good people. All right, happy Turkey Day. Let's go to Brother Brian. Come on, Brian. How you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing fine. How about y'all?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, brother.
Okay. Why do you take up for Obama and his disastrous economic policies?
Actually, Obama saved a lot of people's life with Obamacare. Believe it or not, mine as well. So I can give you some stories about what Obamacare did for me and what was there before. I can also look at policies like that. Even though I wish Obama had locked more people up, not more. I wish Obama had locked up the bankers and removed us from an economic system dependent on private bankers that ripped us off. He didn't do that. But all in all, he was a positive in a neoliberal economy. So, I mean, while the economy remained neoliberal, he was absolutely a positive in a neoliberal economy compared to what Donald Trump has done, which was actually a destruction of putting neoliberalism on steroids. But I expect an answer from you real quick.
Okay, yeah. What was his average unemployment rate over 8 years?
It was actually the unemployment rate. Again, the unemployment rate simply followed the path that Obama had already established. And to put it bluntly, he is the only person that left office with less jobs than when he began. You can blame it on the pandemic if you want. I would hold on. You can blame it on the pandemic if you want. I would say the pandemic had little to do with it. If he had handled the pandemic the way a competent president would have handled the potential of a pandemic, then he wouldn't be the only president in American history in this century to have left the presidency with less jobs than when he got there. Go ahead.
Okay, your answer is confusing. I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about the disastrous policy that Obama had. His unemployment rate was 7.4.
Okay, again, my brother, if you have to put it, no, sir, because you just lied to the American people. Let me explain. The unemployment rate, the unemployment rate started. Brian, when I start to speak, you stop. When you speak, I stop. Okay, here's the deal.
Hey, look, man, I'm not a dog, okay?
Sir.
I'm not a dog.
Sir,
okay?
I didn't call you a dog. I just told you how we behave to have a civil conversation. Now, here's what I'm saying. Simply, Obama came after Bush destroyed the economy in 2008. He started his presidency in 2009. He was operating under the destruction of the economy by derivatives that were allowed to fester under the deregulation that originally occurred under President Clinton. Notice I'm not giving any president a break. The deregulation of the banking sector caused the crash of 2008. And that crash is something that Obama had to clean up. And that crash, of course, came unemployment. Hey, but I have one more caller, Brian. So give me a short closer before I go to Jim. Quickly, please, my dear brother.
The crash was created under Clinton, not Obama. The economic banking system, that crash was under Clinton, not Bush.
No, sir. Sir, it locked up. Let me tell you. I'm honest in the way I report. Clinton passed the Glass-Steagall that allowed the mixing of the investment banking and banking. Okay, Glass-Steagall used to separate those. Please listen and learn. All right, Glass-Steagall. I separated. Sir, be quiet for a change. That's how we learn. Now, when that occurred, when Clinton allowed that to pass, over the several years under Bush, it was taken to the nth degree. We got things like derivatives and all these other financial instruments that were based on each other that eventually locked up and crashed in 2008. That's when all these different brokerage firms came down. It crashed the economy. That was under Bush. And then came Obama, who had to clean that mess up. At that point, we wanted him to people like me wanted him to nationalize the banking sector because there's no reason for the banking sector to be in private hands. We wanted that nationalization, and they feared that was going to happen. It never happened. So while he cleaned it up, he left it open for further destruction. And again, we may actually see that again. But Brian, I got to leave you. I got to go to Jim. So thank you. Happy Turkey Day. We'll talk on Monday. Let's go to Jim. I only have 30 seconds for Jim. Come on, Jim.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I'm fine, my brother. Talk to me.
All right. First, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you and your family have a good time tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. We will.
All right. And second, I'm calling regarding Johnny's call, and I believe his belief on ID for voting. I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm a bit confused on his thing because, he was like, you don't require, you wouldn't ask somebody's voter ID if you were trying to rescue them if an EMT is trying to help them, right? I'm like, well, no, obviously you're not, but I do think voter ID should be required for everybody to vote because, it shows that they're an American citizen, that they're here, So I'm not sure what's wrong with that, really.
No, let me explain, right? I think what he's trying to say is that at some time a society have to have a level of trust, and that's true. But again, I don't have I personally don't have a problem to show my ID. I show a driver's license or anything like that to show who you are. Now, what I'm saying, it is kind of silly. It is silly, however, what the right wing comes out and talk about voter ID and illegal, undocumented workers voting, etc. It is illogical for undocumented folks to come and vote to change an election because they are trying to hide themselves. It is illogical, my brother Jim. And I think deep down, if you hadn't heard that from the right wing, you would feel the same. It is illogical to want to put yourself in a position to get caught. And that is what an undocumented worker voting would do. Don't you agree?
I mean,
yes or no? You either agree or you don't.
Would they even get caught if there's no?
Yes, they would. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. But we'll have to do that later. But thank you, Jim. I got to go. You hear the music. But thank you for your call and your question. Happy Turkey Day. All right, folks. So let me jump to Jack real quick. Jack.
The senator came in December the 19th and put that Glass-Steagall bill before they went on Christmas vacation. So
yes, they did.
I
see it. All right, I got to get out of here, folks. Thank you so kindly. PoliticsDoneRight.com/newsletter. PoliticsDoneRight.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from PoliticsDoneRight.com. Publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes